Impact Wrestling at a press conference to build up to their big matchup with Kenny Omega versus Rich Swann, title for title, Impact Wrestling Championships, taking on the AEW World Champion, and whoever wins walks away with all the belts. And I mean all the belts. Since they've been showing up the original Impact World TNA World Championship, that counts too. So Kenny gets to Kenny has a shot to evolve from Kenny two belts to Kenny. Let's see, he's the AEW champion, Mega champion. Since they brought that up, let's see, he'll be Kenny four belts. So get ready for that fun. And yeah, this was pretty awesome. Like, how long has it been since I've seen a big fight match feel that has a press conference involved? I mean, I think for big mainstream audiences, I think the last time that they did the press conferences was back in 2014 when they did those somewhat artificial press conferences. Like, this is the thing about it. Like, I kind of miss this kind of big fight feel where they have these big press conferences. Yes, it's staged and everything, but that's wrestling. Everything has to be staged because everything has to be angled and everything, and including and probably the questions as well. But the journalist got to ask, so there was a degree of realism to it. But they had Kenny Omega, Don Callis, Tony Khan, and Jerry Lynn on one side, though Omega and Don Callis said they would show up on their own time because that's who they are. And they have Rich Swann and Scott, I keep trying to remember his name, with Josh Matthews presiding everything. And Tony Khan was like, yeah, this was to be expected. Yeah, just move on. I actually wasn't almost gonna make this video, not because I didn't want to. It's because I had taken my second vaccine shot, and I felt like absolute hell on Saturday, and I thought I wouldn't be better till Monday, so I'm feeling a lot better. Yay! And I can still feel a little weird. Oh, Scott Demore. Okay. So they go ahead and address a lot of stuff in this press conference, mostly getting some story progression out, like how is Don Callis an impacted executive still if he's constantly signing with AEW's World Champion, and like creating an obvious bias because now since and yet Scott Demore is like not even answering that. Like, I honestly thought they were gonna finally address like fully address like, hey, why is this guy who's clearly signed to AEW being an Impact executive still? They never address it. They kind of do, but then Don Callis just goes ahead and shrugs it off like, this is not an important question, even though it clearly is. Thank you very much. And does this like extravagant entrance for Kenny Omega and calling him the god of pro wrestling and everything. Uh, and Rich Swann answers his questions he was given and how he's going to overcome Omega, talking about how he's battled adversity his entire life, and Omega's everything people claim he is, but he'll have the opportunity to put himself in that line and it will be history making. And they go ahead and finally address the biggest question people were having because there were constant talks about this because America. Here's the thing: whenever you did a pro wrestling show and it had world champions crossing over, it usually was problematic. Like, here's the thing: I've watched, I've done research, I talked about it, I've seen people talk about it. I mean, when you have wrestling crossover, that's fun. But then when you have, oh, well, we can't have, because, okay, if you had like, All In was very successful and had proper booking. And some people say that there's a reason why we will never probably get another All In like event. Like, all these promotions gathering together and just doing a massive event like that. They said the reason why is because, like, they bring up Super Clash and everything, and Super Clash 3 specifically, because of all the politicking and egos that happened with that title for title match. Which, yeah, I understand, but then I was like, well, why not just be more like All In? Like, have have the champions compete against their own wrestling company's opponents, and they just be a part of this big platform show, well, just to say we did it. And if they do wrestling crossovers with matches, they could have people who aren't champions and etc., like that sort of thing. And like everyone brings up, I think some people still bring up like, why didn't Kenny Omega bring the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship or the IWGP Heavyweight Championship, not the Cody and Diva style having a child together, uh, Cody's neck tattoo and the Diva's belt having a child, and creating whatever the hell that was. Oh god, like how did they screw that up? I mean, everyone was hyped. Like oh god, how did they miss the mark on that? All due respect, but yeah, and yeah, I get that whole stuff. Like politics and ego are a definite issue. I could also make the argument that maybe things have changed since the 80s, but let's be real, we're still filled with egos in wrestling and politicking. So this idea kind of is understandable if the owners and wrestlers are less, egotistical about it in real life. I mean, like, they can make it work. Like, ideally, on paper, it works. It sounds like it could be an awesome match. But when you execute it, it's going to be like, oh, God, that's going to be a problem. Because you're basically saying, okay, so you're going to drop the world title of our company to this other guy's world title, and we're not sure how we can plan this booking out. So can you be willing to do that for us? In the 80s, that would be like asking yourself to get punched in the face, because let's be real, that was a very different time. I don't know how it would work now. I don't know. I'm like, I'm not sure how they would treat it. But they keep saying how they will have a definitive world unified champion in this event, where if Kenny wins, he'll show up on Impact, and how they bring up how COVID did kind of has affected everything forever for wrestling, like how it's less live event touring and more TV based, which is understandable because that is a thing. I get the feeling live event shows will be a dying art, except for WWE, because of COVID and everything, and they have to think of other ways to make money that's not just TV shows. And like I said, AEW, they were willing to like cut the house show stuff like by half, over half of it, by instead of being 300 days, it was 120 days last I heard. And that's so you gotta think, if you cut that out, you have to also add in the 52 weeks of TV, which means that it's not gonna be every week, it's not gonna be every day. So they would have 120 shows a year, and there's 52 weeks a year. So yeah, a little over half of the events would have house shows, and thus making it a little bit more of a big deal. And then you got to also account for potential injuries for those unified champs and whatnot, and the extra strain it could have on people, which would suck really badly. But yeah, they address like how and AEW kind of went a little roguish on this. Like they're saying we'd have Aubrey Edwards involved, and Tony Khan said he's going to be at AEW Rebellion. He's going to be part of the event, and I was thinking shenanigans. I'm calling for shenanigans because let's be real, Tony Khan and his passive aggressive attitude with Impact is kind of obvious because it is. They stole their world champion for a time, and then he just goes ahead and acts like he can do whatever he wants. Which, once again, I'm still wondering why they never addressed, hey, Kenny, remember how you were the executive VP of our company? Yeah, you're just a wrestler to us now. Like, in continuity, not in real life, they strip him of that title, but then they threw that out the window when Tony Khan deliberately got involved in a match, which they also never addressed, and I'm still wondering why no one brought that up. Because Tony Khan already has passive aggressive ads going with him, and then Tony Khan getting Jerry Lynn deliberately. It was one thing to have passive aggressive ads. It's another to get one of their workers out there and say, "Get involved in a match and screw Impact Wrestlers over." Like that's a big difference there. They bring up how the Good Brothers are going to be involved and how they could be involved and whatnot, and how they're going for an impact, how they're trying to see if they could get a definitive winner in all this. It's pretty compelling stuff, I feel, and Omega and Callis make their late entrance and whatnot, which was funny. And they go ahead and bring up AJ Styles, a match that really should have happened with Omega and him. I miss that. And how they bring up Flair and all these other people like Kurt Angle, and I'm just thinking like, oh man, I wonder how pissed WWE gets every time they even say their names. Because let's be real, WWE kind of has a we own them mentality, therefore you can't say their names. Because even though this is a free speech world, well, we will demand consequences for you uttering our name unless you give us money for it. I wouldn't be surprised, honestly. We're at that point in life for WWE, I feel. I'm like, they fired 9 workers, and I'm honestly am expecting more. They haven't done no more yet. And we will cover that on AEW View on Noah Foster's channel. The reason why we didn't is because one of our buddies couldn't make it that day, so we had to postpone it because Meg really cares about all this. But nonetheless, and yeah, so Omega and Swann come to blows and punch each other in the face, and they're brawling. They knock over their belts, so props there for unity. And I'm amazed they didn't like do anything else to hit that AEW is gonna go full heel mode on this. But I feel like it's for the best because like County kept bringing up how he and Scott are buddies, they're buddy on these business deals, and he just hates Kenny Omega and hates Don Callis' flamboyant attitudes and how they go ahead and think they can do whatever they want. Yeah. Yeah, if only they could address those things. I'm like glad they did, but like I'm talking about the other 2 things I brought up. And then later on, they would announce that not only was a big history-making moment would happen between Omega and Rich Swann, we're gonna have Mauro and Ranallo calling the match. And I was like, done. You won me over. Like, this was already interesting enough as it is, but now you got the best commentator for combat sports coming in. First wrestling gig since he left WWE, and let's hope he does well, and I'm hoping his health is first and foremost on this. He even did some videos for Impact Wrestling where he gave 5 ways for Rich Swann and Kenny Omega to win their matches. The Marinello narrated these 2 content videos on YouTube, which was awesome. And apparently this deal was being finalized for some weeks now, which was awesome. This is just a one-time gig. I don't know if he'll do more, but I would honestly love Marinello coming back to full-time commentate. But if that's ultimately up to him. We're gonna have to see. But man, Marinello calling a Kenny Omega match, I want to see that. Oh man. Honestly, I would love it if they did this. They go ahead and get an Impact commentator and a WWE and an AEW commentator, because I have been wanting to see Jim Ross and Marinello just get back together again and just commentate the hell out of a match. Man, that was fun. I think the last time they talked together was they on commentary was NXT Aleister Black versus Kenta. I know he was called a Hideo Itami, but let's be real, he was Kenta to many still, and his run in NXT was very sadly bad. So yeah. So I am hoping for a definitive winner here. Like, I know some people are not happy of the idea of AEW taking Impact's world title because all this, so you're gonna have to really find a way to make this work, because let's be real, this hasn't been seeded over. Let me see, when was Super Clash a match on this kind of level? Let's see, Super Clash 3 was 1988, so yeah, it hasn't been seen that much since that time, which is telling. Yeah. I like Super Clash 3 in theory works. In paper it could work, but if you have so many egos and different companies involved, then it's gonna be, and you have egos going on, and there were a lot of egos back then, and for that, but yeah. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this match, and I really hope Impact and AEW can make it work. I think they can make it work at this present moment due to the fact that they still have to stick to the Daily's place and they have to stick to the Impact Zone for them. In fact, I keep trying to remember where they're at. Let's see. Let's see where they're at. They're back in Nashville, Tennessee. Skyway Studios. So, and there's a day between the two, so they're gonna have a few hours of flight there at best. So yeah, I was gonna make a joke saying they're literally across the street, but yeah, I can't. Uh, man, that was gonna be such a funny thing. Like Tennessee and Florida are ways away, and yeah, so they're gonna have him fly. They're gonna have to have Kenny or Swann fly from each state and go through the proper proceedings. So yeah, they're gonna have to make that work. So I'm looking forward to this. I really hope this is a great. This is guaranteed to be a great match. Like Rich Swann's awesome. Kenny Omega is awesome, and yeah, we're probably guaranteed shenanigans with Mamma Mia, Mamma freaking Mia, and everything. Oh man, Maro's just awesome. He's awesome. Can we get more of him? I know, like I want to see more of him, but it's ultimately his choice and how he goes through his mental issues. I can relate. But that's ultimately up to him. We'll have to see again in the future if he'll ever take up wrestling as a full-time gig or part-time gig or just stick to these one-time deals for events. We'll have to see. I do hope he does call the inevitable Hangman versus Omega 2 match. Still say that's going to happen. So, this was Neo Reality Entertainment, the WrestleVerse, presenting the press conference of Kenny Omega and Rich Swann for Impact Wrestling Rebellion event. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Check out my other content in the description below. Search for on YouTube. Stay tuned, take care, and stay safe out there. And peace and take care.